Have you ever watched a Chinese mother in public with her baby and just stopped? No meltdowns, no endless crying, no frantic bouncing, shushing, rocking, just a calm baby and a calm mother. Meanwhile, you haven't slept more than 3 hours. Your back hurts from bouncing, and you've Googled "why won't my baby stop crying" at 2 a.m. more times than you want to admit. And you're standing there thinking, how? Because what you're about to hear isn't just interesting. It might be the most useful 8 minutes you've spent as a parent. Before we go any further, let me be clear about what this video is and what it isn't. This isn't about tiger moms. It isn't about strictness. It isn't about one culture being better than another. Forget all of that. This is about 5 habits, studied in 11 countries, and not one of them costs a penny. A landmark study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences tracked 684 mothers across 11 countries and measured exactly what they did when their baby cried. And what happened next? The results were not what Western researchers expected. 5 habits. Let's go. Habit 1. They respond to the cry before the cry. What if the goal was never to stop a cry but to prevent it from starting? A father in Beijing was observed by researchers during a routine feeding study. They weren't watching what he did when his baby cried. They watched what he did 5 minutes before. He watched his baby's face. He noticed a tension forming around the eyes, a micro-expression most Western parents never see. He shifted his position, adjusted the room temperature, offered a feed. The baby never cried at all. This is called anticipatory caregiving, and it's one of the most consistent patterns researchers find in East Asian parenting. Experienced Chinese caregivers don't wait for the cry. They read what researchers call pre-cry signals. A facial tension, a stiffness in the body, a shift in breathing. Here's the truth most parents have never been told. The cry is your baby's last resort, not their first communication. By the time they're crying, they've already been trying to tell you something for minutes. Most Western parenting responds at the last resort. Chinese parenting responds at the first signal. Your baby doesn't want to cry. Crying makes their body flood with cortisol. It's exhausting for their nervous system to do and exhausting to recover from. Every time you catch the signal before the cry, you're not just stopping a meltdown. You're protecting your baby's developing stress system and building a communication channel that goes deeper than sound. Your baby isn't being difficult. They've been trying to tell you something. You just didn't know what to listen for. Until now. Habit 2. They never separate the baby's body from human contact. This one will challenge almost everything modern Western parenting has told you. In 1969, researcher Jerome Kagan ran one of the first major cross-cultural infant studies. Same stimuli, same conditions. Chinese American babies and European American babies side by side. Chinese infants cried measurably less. Not because they were less intelligent, not because they were less sensitive, because of one consistent difference in how they had been raised in their first months. Physical contact. Traditional Chinese infant care, rooted in thousands of years of practical wisdom, keeps the baby in near constant contact with the caregiver's body. Not because of a theory, not because of a book, because it works. Think about it this way. Your baby spent 9 months inside a body, warm, held, moving with every breath. The moment they're born, their nervous system is still expecting that. It's not asking for luxury. It's asking for what it's always known. When that contact is present, cortisol stays low, heart rate stays normal, the threshold for crying rises. When it's absent, the nervous system asks the only question it knows how to ask. And that question sounds like crying. Baby wearing isn't spoiling your baby. Skin to skin isn't creating bad habits. Co-sleeping in a carrier isn't weakness. It's biology. A baby in your arms cries less not because they've trained you, but because their brain has received one signal. I am safe. There is nothing to cry about. Habit 3. They use the multigenerational brain. Here's something no parenting book will ever tell you, because it can't be bottled and sold. Picture this. You've just given birth. You're exhausted, overwhelmed. You have no idea what this specific baby's cry means yet, and you're completely alone with them. That is the modern Western model of new parenthood. And it is one of the loneliest, most depleting situations a human being can be placed in. Now picture this instead. You've just given birth, and your mother moves in. Your mother-in-law moves in. Your aunt who has raised 4 children moves in. Not to take over, to transmit. You watch them read your baby. You learn what that specific cry means, not through guesswork in Google, but through the eyes of someone who has read 100 babies before yours. In China, this is called yuèzi, the month of confinement after birth. And the neuroscience behind it is now undeniable. Researchers studying crying rates across cultures find the same thing repeatedly. The highest rates of prolonged infant crying happen in low-support environments. New parents, alone, no experienced caregiver nearby, making every decision from scratch, running on empty. And here's the part that matters most. A depleted parent is a dysregulated parent, and a dysregulated parent has a dysregulated baby. Your baby's nervous system doesn't regulate itself in the first year. It borrows regulation from yours. When you are calm, their cortisol drops. When you are flooded with stress, their stress system fires. Before you say a single word, before you make a single move. The Chinese multigenerational model doesn't just give the parent help. It gives the baby a calmer parent. And a calmer parent is the single most powerful anti-crying tool that exists. Not a product, not a technique, person beside you who has done this before. Habit 4. They treat routine as a neurological tool, not a schedule. If you've ever put your baby on a schedule and had it completely fall apart by Tuesday, this is the reason why. A schedule says, feed at 9 a.m. A routine says, feed then play then sleep. One breaks the moment your baby is 5 minutes off. The other works every single time. That distinction sounds small. The neuroscience behind it is enormous. A baby's brain, particularly in the first year, is a pattern recognition machine. It has one job running constantly in the background. One question it never stops asking. What comes next? When the answer is predictable, the brain classifies the environment as safe. Stress hormones stay low. The nervous system settles. The baby stays calm. When the answer is unpredictable, the brain never fully relaxes. It stays in a low-level state of alert. Watchful, waiting, and a baby in a state of alert is one small frustration away from crying. Chinese infant care has used sequence-based routines across generations. Not because of neuroscience, they didn't have the scans. Because generation after generation of experienced caregivers noticed the same thing. Predictability keeps babies calm. Now we know why. You don't need a rigid clock. You need a consistent sequence. The same order. Every time, every day. Within 2 to 3 weeks, your baby's brain will begin to anticipate each step, and that anticipation itself becomes calming. Predictability is not boring to your baby's brain. It is safety, and safety is silence. Habit 5. They respond to crying with regulation, not reaction. This is the most counterintuitive habit on the list, and it might be the one that makes you think about every single time you rush to your baby in a panic and understand finally why it made things worse. When a Western baby cries, the most common parental response is urgency. Pick up fast, bounce fast, shush fast, fix it fast. And the panic in your body, the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest, the speed of your movements transmits directly to your baby, whose nervous system is entirely dependent on yours for regulation, who reads your urgency as confirmation. Something is wrong, and the crying intensifies. In 2017, researchers published a landmark study in PNAS. They scanned the brains of experienced Chinese mothers while they listened to infant cries. Then they compared those scans to first-time Western mothers. The difference was not in caring. It was in regulation. Experienced Chinese mothers showed strong activation in the regions associated with calm, focused caregiving, and significantly lower activation in the regions linked to stress and alarm. They weren't less moved by the cry. They were steadier inside it. And that steadiness transmitted to the baby through every touch, every sound, every shift in the caregiver's body. Traditional Chinese caregivers approach a crying baby the way a skilled clinician approaches a patient. Voice low, movement slow, body relaxed. Not because they care less, because they understand something it took neuroscience decades to confirm. You cannot pour calm from an empty vessel. A dysregulated caregiver cannot regulate a dysregulated baby. It is neurologically impossible. The baby's nervous system is looking for a regulated one to borrow from, and if yours isn't available, there is nothing to borrow. And you can use it tonight. Before you pick up your crying baby, take one slow breath. Drop your shoulders. Slow your movements by 30%. Your baby's nervous system will detect the shift in yours within seconds. This is not a trick. This is co-regulation, one of the most powerful, most researched, and most consistently underused tools in all of early infant care. 5 habits: anticipatory caregiving, constant physical contact, multigenerational support, sequence-based routine, regulated response. Not one of them costs money. Not one of them requires a product. Every single one is available to you, starting tonight. Now here's what I want you to do next, and I mean this seriously. If what you heard today surprised you, there's a video already on this channel that will go even deeper. It's called 7 Mistakes New Parents Make That Silently Damage Your Baby's Brain. And if the 5 habits in this video changed how you think about crying, that video will completely change how you see every decision you make as a parent. From the moment you wake up to the moment you put your baby down at night. Every single mistake in that video connects directly to what you just learned here. Watch it next. It's right here. And if this video gave you something tonight, hit subscribe. This channel exists for one reason: to give you the neuroscience behind your baby's development. Clearly, without the noise. New video every week. And before you go, I want to say one thing. You're not a bad parent. You just weren't given the right information. Now you have it.